This week's question is, if there was one book that you could make mandatory for everybody to read, what would it be? And I think for a lot of people, especially if you follow a certain faith or religion, it's like the Bible, the Quran, like the thing, the Upanishads, like whatever the book, the holy text for your faith is. And it's certainly not a wrong answer. And a lot of people believe that very strongly. This is the book. In fact, some people are totally cool with killing other people because they don't read their book and they read a different book. I'm not going to go that far. In fact, my book is Way of the Peaceful Warrior. There's 0 deaths that have ever come from this book. This is not the book that I think everybody should read, that I could make mandatory for everybody, but I couldn't think of what that book is. So instead, I'm going to go with the book that, if not the number one, probably tied for the number one book that has impacted my life the most, because of some of the ideas that were introduced to me in this book, but also because it set me on my martial arts journey. So I had some friends who were practicing martial arts with my Sifu in Michigan, and they were talking about practice and what it's like. And then some of them mentioned this book, and they're like, "This is such a great book, that you should read it." And so I read it, and I was like, "Yes, this is what I want for my life." And I started martial arts, and I never quit. This is around where I started meditating every day, and still haven't quit. So I guess it's been around 25 years. The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, the full title is Way of the Peaceful Warrior, a book that changes lives. And it's by Dan Millman. He's written a lot of great stuff. And the first thing I'm going to quote, I printed out some quotes so they're easier for me to find, but the first thing I'm going to read is from the preface. And so he's starting to talk about his life, and then he's talking about like life before the events that are in this book, which is a fictionalization, a novelization of his life. And he writes that, "Now I realize that I had, in a sense, been sleeping all those years and just dreaming I was awake, until I met Socrates, who became my mentor and friend." And Socrates is a main character in this book. Besides Dan, he is like the embodiment of all of the teachers and knowledge and wisdom that Dan has encountered in his life. So that quote really, I think, resonates with me, because I had a similar experience with this book and practicing martial arts and starting meditation, where I feel like I was asleep. I was like a zombie before, and then I had this kind of awakening. And I certainly won't say that I became enlightened, but maybe to a degree more than I was before. And I felt like I was present, like listening for things, looking at things, and being present in a way that I wasn't beforehand. And so in that way, this whole journey that Dan Millman describes in this book really resonates with me in my life. So I'll read through some of the quotes here. And I've got 3 pages. I might not get through all these, because I'm going to give some of my thoughts on each one. But the first one is, "The journey is what brings us happiness, not the destination." And you've heard this before. It's the journey, not the destination. We talk about this in class all the time. I think in Tai Chi is where I bring it up the most, because we get into the habit of thinking of learning Tai Chi as like, I've got to get to the end of the form, right? And so what's that like? I'm like rushing to get to the end of the form, whether I'm learning it or doing the form, and then you get to the end and it's like, I did it, great. But you missed the whole point of it. The whole point was each posture along the way, each breath and each moment. And this is what life is. You will find with a bad attitude, or like the attitude that we just really get thrust upon us living in a society with lots of traffic. I got stuck in it today, and as soon as I get stuck in traffic, I'm like, I gotta get where I'm supposed to be now, and I'm like zipping around cars and stepping on the gas more than I should have been. And then you get to where you're going, and you realize that you missed the opportunity. All of those moments between the time that you got in the car and the time you arrived were still your life. And if we can learn to enjoy the journey of being stuck in traffic in LA, then you can certainly enjoy the journey in life, or the journey in learning the form. And I like to say, I'm pretty sure I stole this from my Sifu, but people ask me sometimes, what's your favorite posture in Tai Chi? And I say, it's whichever one I'm doing right now. And the experience that I strive to have and that I would really love for all of you to have is the same. Is you're practicing wherever you are right now is your favorite. This is it. It's perfect and it's beautiful. And the very next quote is about that. He says, there are no ordinary moments. And that is our problem, is we're constantly zipping through these things that seem to be ordinary moments, these mundane things, this getting stuck in traffic, this doing the dishes, this whatever. That's life. Like, and there is no higher purpose than this moment, that samurai maxim says. So if we can learn to experience every step as like it's not where I'm trying to go to, it's this step right now, it's this breath. And that's one of the most beautiful things. And that really is what's behind this idea of being awake and feeling like you're no longer just sleeping through life. So the next quote is a long one. It is, there is no need to search. Achievement leads to nowhere. It makes no difference at all, so just be happy now. Love is the only reality of the world because it is all one, you see. And the only laws are paradox, humor, and change. There's no problem, never was, and never will be. Release your struggle, let go of your mind, throw away your concerns, and relax into the world. No need to resist life, just do your best. Open your eyes and see that you are far more than you imagine. You are the world, you are the universe, you are yourself and everyone else too. It's all the marvelous play of God. Wake up, regain your humor. Don't worry, just be happy. You are already free. Okay, so it's similar, right? We think of the journey as the destination, and sometimes we get stuck in this trap with our meditation practice, or thinking of enlightenment as like, this is the place that I'm trying to go, or the thing that I'm trying to achieve, or the person that I'm trying to become. And as long as we have that mindset and we're stuck in this, on this treadmill or this hamster wheel of I'm always trying to get to the next place, but really just stuck, and you just keep circling back on yourself. It always seems stressful. Even something that's meant to be very calming and centering, like meditation, can be a stress if you're thinking there's something that I'm trying to achieve, there's some place that I'm trying to go with this. So I love to quote Zen mind, beginner's mind. And the author says, he's talking about this kind of mindset that people have with meditation, like you're trying to accomplish something. He calls this a winning idea. It's like I'm trying to win meditation, which doesn't happen. There's nothing that you're competing against. You're not even competing against yourself, really. All you have to do is sit. And so if meditation can feel like this, like you're literally just sitting here and relaxing, that's wonderful. That's really all that there is to do. And if we can start to have that experience in the rest of life, there's no greater lesson to just be here in the present, relaxed and happy with what we have and where we are and who we are. It's a tall task, but practice it in meditation. So this refers to something that he mentioned before. I think in the book this actually comes before, but he says life has 3 rules: paradox, humor, and change. So paradox, life is a mystery. Don't waste your time trying to figure it out. This is another thing that we talk about all the time in Tai Chi. Tai Chi is filled with paradoxes, the yin and the yang. There is always going to be paradox. That is the nature of the world. That is the nature of life. So we accept it and we don't try to figure it out, right? Enjoy the mystery. Humor. Keep a sense of humor, especially about yourself. It is a strength beyond all measure. If you can't look at yourself in the mirror and laugh out loud, you are no kind of human being. You've got to be able to stop taking yourself seriously and laugh at the ridiculousness that's going on in your mind, that you're trying to just like run around and accomplish all this stuff. Just laugh at yourself and laugh at life. This is, I think, one of the most important and powerful practices that we can have outside of meditation or related to meditation, is to just laugh at ourselves. If you are having a thought and then you are able to almost instantly realize the ridiculous nature of what you were just thinking and laugh at yourself, whether it's out loud or not, you can laugh to yourself. If you're in a public place, it's probably more appropriate. But that is so powerful because you instantly just let go of all that nonsense. You let go of the thought, you let go of the stress associated with it. So just have a sense of humor. Change. Know that nothing ever stays the same. So paradox, humor, and change. And life is always in flux. The world is always in flux. Like, we know this. And to try to fight against it is futile. It's going to just feel like more stress. They say that you can never step in the same river twice, right? Even this river that looks like the same thing, it is a different river. It's changed, and the water is different, and we're different. What is it? Every 7 years, every cell in our body is replaced. I don't know if that's scientific fact, but it's close enough. Like, we are not the same people, and we're not supposed to be. So how can you expect anything else to be the same? You shouldn't expect yourself and shouldn't want yourself to be the same. Shouldn't expect or want the world to be the same. And that doesn't mean that, you know, there aren't things that we should strive for and there aren't principles that we should have. But if we expect other people or other things to stay constant, we're in for a world of disappointment. So get over it. If you don't get, oh, this is one of my favorites. It's so good. So I can't remember what leads into this, but he's talking about the nature of desire. And he's like, it's pointless, it's useless. If you don't get what you want, you suffer. If you get what you don't want, you suffer. Even when you get exactly what you want, you still suffer because you can't hold on to it forever. And this is the nature of desire, right? Desire is always leading us down the path of suffering. They go hand in hand. And I'm not going to say that it's as simple as having no desire means that you have no suffering, but it's pretty much that. Basically, the root of suffering in life is you desire things to be a certain way, they are not. And even if you do happen to get exactly what you want, which basically never happens, then it's fleeting. It's going to change, as we just discussed. So what's the lesson here? Do we just desire nothing? That's part of what we're trying to practice in Tai Chi, is at least to be able to, in the moment, let go of desire. And okay, that's one way to do it. I think if you finally get to the point where you actually are totally free from desire, that's wonderful. You're an enlightened being. You're basically living in heaven all the time. So great job. Enjoy it. For the rest of us who still have some desire that we come back to, either on accident or because we think, like, I'm trying to get stuff done. I got to have this desire and I got to go for it. Okay, but recognize that, again, when we get attached to things, that's when we run into problems. So I like to make this distinction between attachment and commitment. Attachment is like, it's got to be exactly this way, which we know is not going to work out, versus commitment. I'm committed to something that's in this direction, and I'm able to change and go with the flow. And when my initial desire doesn't happen, I'm able to stay committed to making this thing happen by making little adjustments and kind of finding my way around those obstacles. So that's a way that you can kind of hold on to a little bit of desire, but not let it run you, right? You use it to kind of head in the direction that you're trying to head in without being attached to it. A warrior does not give up what he loves. He finds the love in what he does. There's that song. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know who performed it. I don't know what they say right before this, but it's if you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with. Now that's like a little bit more of like a sad connotation to this. It's like there's somebody over here that I really do love, but I can't have that person, so I'm going to love this person instead. Sounds kind of crappy for this person, but this is really life. Like, if we're able to love what we are doing now rather than wish we were doing something else, whether that's being in a different relationship, or we wish that our front punch were better, or we wish that this meditation was better, like that, again, is all about desiring something that we don't have. So when we can instead choose and love and really just be totally with what's happening now, that will even take us beyond just a freedom from the pain that comes from desiring something else, but it brings an empowerment and a real feeling of of joy and happiness and centeredness and just like a solid feeling. If I can really love this, I'm choosing to love where I am right now. It's incredibly powerful. Everything you'll ever need to know is within you. The secrets of the universe are imprinted on the cells of your body. And this is kind of like when we meditate. There's nothing else that we need to know. We don't have to. We get caught up in like learning different styles of meditation and, you know, trying to get motivated by all kinds of fancy words. And that's why we read books that inspire us. But you don't need any of that. It's all within you. And related to this is this concept I bring up all the time about the teacher pointing to the moon. Bruce Lee talks about this in Enter the Dragon. He's talking to a student and he's referring to this idea of like emotional content, or really just being in the present. And he says it's like the finger pointing to the moon, and the teacher or the student he's talking to looks at the finger like this, and Bruce Lee whacks him on the head and he says, "Don't pay attention to the finger and you miss all that heavenly glory." So much of life and even teaching and literally everything that I'm saying right now is just a finger pointing to something great. And you don't need this finger. You don't need, you know, all of the wisdom in the world. Really, what you need is to just follow in the direction that it's pointing. So ignore everything that I say and just kind of head in the same direction that we're all trying to head in. That's where the heavenly glory is. The moon, enlightenment, just happiness in this moment. It's all there. You can live a whole lifetime never being awake, referring basically back to the first concept. And I think that it's a very different experience. So I wouldn't truly call it living, or wouldn't call it truly living if you're not really awake. But of course, the vast majority of us are born, live, go through the motions, and die, and never really were present for any of it. So this one I don't completely agree with, but I'm going to say it. Moderation, it's mediocrity, fear and confusion in disguise. It's the devil's dilemma. It's neither doing nor not doing. It's the wobbling compromise that makes no one happy. Moderation is for the bland, the apologetic, for the fence sitters of the world, afraid to take a stand. It's for those afraid to laugh or cry, for those afraid to live or die. Moderation is lukewarm tea, the devil's own brew. There's a lot of that I like. And I have to disagree with this because it's my nature to think exactly like this. And maybe it's from reading this book where it's like everything's black or white. It's like I'm here or I'm here. There's no gray area. And the truth is, of course, that the world doesn't work that way. And we're constantly living in the gray area. But in the same way that I never thought I'd be quoting so many other things as I'm going through all these quotes, but it's the same thing that Miyagi Sensei said in Karate Kid about Daniel's son, like, am I going to do karate or not? Am I going to do the tournament or not? He said, walk on one side of road, okay. Walk on the other side of road, okay. Walk in the middle, squish like a grape. So you can't like kind of half-ass it. You're not kind of doing it because you're going to get destroyed in martial arts and in many things in life. But moderation is also very similar to balance, which is so important. Very lazy on one hand to just be totally black or white and be like, I am all this and I'm not considering anything else, or I go so hard in this direction that I end up hurting myself physically, emotionally, whatever. So of course things have to be within balance. But there are many things that moderation just doesn't really apply to, or that balance doesn't apply to. So try to find out what those things are. And if you find like you're the kind of person who just says moderation, it's lukewarm tea, the devil's own brew, and you're always going 1,000 miles an hour in one direction until you run into a wall, and then you learn your lesson after you've crashed into the wall, consider taking your foot off the gas a little bit and trying to kind of steer and stay in the center of the road. The opposite to that Miyagi quote is, if you're driving a car, you do want to stay in the center of the road. You should not drive the car on this sidewalk or this sidewalk. So the next one, where are you? Here. What time is it? Now. What are you? This moment. And that's absolutely it. This should be our experience of meditation and our experience of life. We get so caught up in our experience of life as being what do they call this? The habit of ego identification. We think of ourselves as that thing that we see in the mirror. We think of ourselves as these thoughts that we have, and all of that is not us, right? We have a tendency to experience life by thinking about some other time. We're worried about the future, or we are embarrassed about the past. That's not here or now. And what are you this moment? There's nothing else. In the future, you'll be something else. In the past, you were something else. But right here, this is it. So Socrates asked, "Where are you today, right now?" Eagerly, I started talking about myself. However, I noticed that I was still being sidetracked from getting answers to my questions. Still, I told him about my distant and recent past, my inexplicable depressions. He listened patiently and intently, as if he had all the time in the world, until I finished several hours later. "Very well," he said, "but you have still not answered my question about where you are." That's stuff that I just talked about, so I'm going to move on. So I'm going to read this. It's long, it's an exchange, and it's kind of emblematic. It's a good illustration. It's illustrative of the kinds of conversations that they have in this book. So this is another conversation between Dan and Socrates. And he says, actually, this is the continuation of the last one, I think. So to what he said, "You've not answered my question about where you are." "Yes, I did. Remember? I told you how I got to where I am today by hard work." "Where are you?" "What do you mean, where am I?" "Where are you?" he repeated softly. "Where are you?" he repeated softly. "I'm here." "Where is here?" "In this office, in this gas station." A lot of this book takes place in a gas station, by the way. I was getting impatient with this game. "Where is this gas station?" "In Berkeley." "Where is Berkeley?" "In California." "Where is California?" "In the United States." "In the United States." "On a landmass on one of the I can't tell who's talking here. Yeah, it's Dan. "On a landmass, one of the continents in the Western Hemisphere." "Socrates, where are the continents?" I sighed. "On Earth." "Are we done yet?" "Where's the Earth?" "In the solar system, third planet from the sun. The sun is the small star in the Milky Way galaxy, all right." "Where's the Milky Way?" "Oh, brother," I sighed impatiently, rolling my eyes. "In the universe." I sat back and crossed my arms with finality. "And where," Socrates smiled, "is the universe?" Ooh, I bet none of you ever thought about that one before. "The universe is, well, there are theories about how it's shaped." "That's not what I asked." "Where is it?" "I don't know. How can I answer that?" "That is the point. You cannot answer it, and you never will. There's no knowing about it. You're ignorant of where the universe is, and thus where you are. In fact, you have no knowledge of where anything is, or what anything is, or how it came to be. Life is a mystery. My ignorance is based on this understanding. Your understanding, my ignorance is based on this understanding. Your understanding is based on ignorance. This is why I am a humorous fool and you are a serious jackass." It's great. So many examples. What is it? How's that phrase go? Wise people don't speak. What is this? There's some great saying here that epitomizes this whole thing in a very very quick thing, and I'm not wise enough to remember what it is, but it's something about wise people being quiet and people who don't know anything talking constantly, which is why I talk so much in meditation classes. But kind of goes back to having a sense of humor about yourself and having a sense of humor about the things that we think that we know. And if you can really zoom back far enough and realize that at best what we can understand is we're a speck, and more realistically, we just have no idea about the speck or anything that speck is swimming around in. So there's no point in trying to really understand it. Now, I think science is great, physics is wonderful, and maybe someday we'll be able to travel to other planets and see the sunrise over the horizon of Mars and watch the little blue dot of Earth in the distance. But as far as the kind of the kind of view that we can get from where we are. This is something that we might get from meditation, where we kind of get stuck in this cycle of trying to figure things out and try to logic our way through meditation and through life. And we have to just sit back and realize we don't know anything. And there's something so freeing and empowering about that knowledge, knowing that you're not supposed to know, knowing that this meditation that you're about to do serves no real purpose other than just freeing you of all of this logic that's trying to understand things that you can't possibly ever really truly understand. And we're just freeing our mind. That's it. You might get an experience of the oneness, as he referred to earlier on, where we're letting go of our own small self and we feel connected to the greater universe. But even then, that's an experience, it's a feeling. You don't really know the universe, at least you don't know it with your head. And that's great. That's the way that it should be. If we really were able to conceive of the universe here, our minds would explode, and that would be a big mess to clean up in the dojo. So just let go of it. Enjoy the not knowing. Enjoy the journey, the paradox, the mystery, and just have a good sense of humor about your meditation. When you have that totally ridiculous thought that pops up in meditation, if you're meditating at home, you can laugh. If you're in the dojo, don't laugh. You're going to disturb everybody else's meditation. Sit, come. Oh, eyes, spine straight, eyes up, turn, relax, watch the breath. Let go of all thoughts, worries, and cares. Be here now.